Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm constantly at you because I want you to have been extremely excited when you went to bed last night that you had beautiful dreams. And more than that, I want you excited about waking up this morning because it's a new day, a day that gives you an opportunity to just experience life. And life is just that, life. Now, I'm lying in bed and I'm thinking about how this isn't happening and all of the things that happens that keep it from happening, and it just drives me wild. I think about what is happening overseas over in Ukraine, and I'm thinking about the enemy of life that's destroying, that is really, I mean, how bold can you be? How much anti-God can you be? Then when God creates life, makes life, and gives life, and then to come along, not God, but one that wants to destroy what God has given, take bombs and take life away from people when people are not ready to give it up. So you think about that, right? You look at that in some form or fashion. We've all been taught some connection with evil to act like that. And also, we've been taught about a God of love, a God of the answer, without going through all of the scriptures, a God of the answer. And now, when we really look at it and we see the enemy of God, the enemy of life, actually destroying, actually holding up their calling cards, death, destruction. This is their activity. This is what they're doing. And then you think about the God that is in some form or fashion that's talked about, that's spread all over the world. All over the world. You got what's taking place with this God. You got mouthpieces for this God that's asking the congregation for money to buy jets and more jets, to furnish their mansions, to furnish all of the luxurious lifestyles that they have. That's what they're asking people for money for, asking them to use their money as a seed to give, so God can give to them what they, who are preachers, are asking the people to give to them. Everybody knows that if all the people who are listening to this message, this prosperity message, if you not just took your $1,000 and planted it, if you took all of your money and gave it to the ministry, every cent of it, and gave it to the ministry, God would not respond to you in any different way than it's been responding all along. Granted, the ministry would give some people a measure of return for their investment. Some people, not all of them, some people. And that's no different than what's happening already. Some people. So that God is not a God that works for everybody. But this is the God that's filling congregation with thousands. They call them mega churches, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to, you know what we say about mega churches. When I look at them, I know what they feel. Especially when on camera, when the camera got them in these arenas, in these auditoriums, the big bowls, they look like a cluster of people, and in their own minds, they think that they are there together serving God. The power of God is with them. They are all come together, and that they got something unique. They really think they got something unique. I understand. When they come into these places, the places are, I mean, there's so much money. The places are nice and neat. The sound systems are fine. The cameras are there. The screens are there. And if you need any choirs, they're there. If you need any band, it's a theater. And people are mesmerized. But the people who are dying over in Ukraine, who are praying for God to come to their rescue, to do something with that miraculous power, that God that is talked about all over the world, do something that devilish person, Putin, to stop him from giving those commands. Do something to those agents who are so blind they're pulling those triggers and dropping those bombs. Do something to cause the pain and suffering to stop. But no, the church is still over here partying, talking about getting something for themselves. It reminds me of something in the Catholic Church back in Martin Luther's days. I'm not sure what it was. Um, it had something to do with talents, but it's not the talents is not the word. You probably know what I'm talking about. But according to the story that goes back there, people who had died and you knew that they were in purgatory based upon the kind of lifestyle that they were living, they had been judged and adjudicated to have gone to hell. And now the Catholic Church, who would not allow the people to have a Bible because they didn't want you trying to say you could read and understand for yourself, they wanted to program you and tell you exactly what God wanted. And now you could buy. I'm using talent. That's not the word I want to use, but it eludes me right now, and I can't think of it. But it would allow you, by purchasing this, your people in purgatory can come up a step out of heaven. So you constantly come back and give money. Each time they can come closer, not heaven, excuse me, or it's maybe heaven, but you coming out of purgatory. Each time you give money, you buying your way out. You buying your way out. You see how they reduce God to be a bigot, they reduce God to be a monster. Well, so on the one hand, you got the devil over here destroying life. And on the other hand, you got God over here begging for money. And you got people in the center who doesn't care anything about God and really doesn't care anything about the devil. They're just trying to survive. The only problem is they are living in a system that works for the devil. What I mean by that, they live for a system that allows a continuation of the pain and suffering, and nothing that's going on stops it or prevents it. Time, it gets worse. As time, it gets worse. So every now and then, some things might change only to allow other things to worsen. This is because everywhere people are, they are systems that they design for themselves to work for themselves. Not to work for everyone, but for to their clique, to work for their team, however you want to break it down. And each one of them are in defiance of the rules of life. Now, this here trick with this buying your way into heaven, paying all these tithes and offerings and planting all of these seeds. The truth of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, they're lying to you, telling you that God is going to give you something. I want to tell you this. God is not going to give you anything that God hasn't already given you. You're praying for finances, you're praying for education. God has already made it possible for all of that to happen. You are standing in your own way. And paying all this money is not going to do anything but make these guys who are tricking you rich. That's all it's going to do. And they're laughing themselves out. Many of them think they're telling you the truth. So don't, if you want heaven on earth, if you want to make sure that you got a house, if you want to make sure that every family got a home in this country, if you want to make sure that every family got a home on this earth, there are certain principles that you have to follow. That has to be built into your system. If you want to make sure that every family got access to education unlimited and unrestricted in this country or anywhere on earth, there are basic principles that must be followed. No other way it's going to happen. If, my friend, you want health care, because of all the reasons you can imagine why people would want health care, from the womb to the tomb, the best you can get, here for every American, for everybody on the earth. It's there for you. It's been given. But there are basic principles that you have to exercise in order to benefit from it. That has been given for us to make the decision, for us to be moved by the decisions that we've made, by the choices that we've made, which teaches us the steps to make and steps not to make. And so we design our own system that reflects what we say we pray for. And then the God that you're praying to is alive in every last one of you. And you can look around you and see God in the peace, see God in the prosperity, see God in the freedom, see God in the joy of life, see God in the dreams being fulfilled, see God in you, in your hands, in your mind, being led by that Spirit. And no lies, cheating and stealing and killing and hatred and racism and bigotry exist. No, my friends, that stuff doesn't exist neither in Ukraine, not in Iraq, not anywhere on the face of the earth, because the mighty power of God's love has come to the earth, and we as people have been born again. That's all I've been asking us to do. Stop listening to these lies. Whether you're talking about God, is a lie. It's not doing anything but serving Satan. So what I ask myself, when this is going on, I mean, who can you trust? You know now that when people put stuff in the books, they only put in there what they want in there. And they even go back at other times and take it out if they find out it didn't serve their purpose. So then how do you go around and preach that as something that's so bona fide you can't take nothing away from it except what somebody told you it meant? How can you believe that somebody at one point in time can listen to a power and call it God that leads them and then tell you that you can't listen no more? You got to take it from the mouth of somebody telling you something from a book that they read or something they heard. Come on, talk to me. So it makes me think that when you think about all this stuff happening, all these things being said, and all this here hell going on one and the other, the left and the right, the up and the down, it makes it seem that the straight and narrow really means straight and narrow, which means every last human being in America and every last human being on the face of the earth must have a direct relationship with God, so that Spirit of God can be leading them in this particular walk of life, and they are not being led by the spirit of nobody else, being led by God, except they are all being led by God, and they're leading where God takes them, and that's just by the power of God, not that they following somebody else or following somebody else. No, they following the power that leads them, and that's the love of God. Hey, and it might take you by yourself. I mean, really take you by yourself. I'm just saying. So having said that, I think I've given you enough to think about today. I want to say have a wonderful day. And if it's not, well, we're working on it. We need the support of everybody who wants to know what love is to become a part of love and watch it grow. Until next time, this is Eddie Marcus saying good morning.